actually silence that you're listening to, which is probably not that surprising or that exciting. But the reason why I'm focusing on the silence right now is because sometimes that is how God can speak to us. I am actually going to read a little bit today to you out of this book, which those of you who have attended my Sunday school know this book really well. This is the Bible, and this is the hands-on Bible, and this is the one that we read together in class. Today we are kind of taking a journey away from the Easter and the New Testament, and we're going all the way back to the book of Kings. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the book of Kings. And we're going to talk a little bit about Elijah. Elijah was a prophet. He was someone that God spoke to, and he would tell him something to tell everyone else. Or sometimes he would tell him something that was going to happen in the future. And that's basically what a prophet's role is just to be in communication with God. So somebody who knows how to talk to God is a prophet. Elijah, the story starts out kind of tumultuously. I'm going to read a verse that kind of sets the scene. It says, "So Jezebel sent this message to Elijah. May the gods strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you, just as you killed them." And she was talking to Elijah the prophet. She said, may the gods kill me if by tomorrow I don't kill you. So if anybody needed to hear from God, it was Elijah, because that is pretty fearful. And Jezebel was actually a queen. She was the person who had the power to make that promise true. And so Elijah goes away and he tells God about his troubles. And he says, God, I've served you. I've done everything you've asked. And now this queen wants to kill me. And nobody else is serving you. I'm the only one. That's what Elijah says. And I'm going to actually read this part because I just think it's such a powerful way that God decided to speak to Elijah. So Elijah went out. The Lord told him to go out and stand before me on the mountain. As Elijah stood there, the Lord passed by, and a mighty windstorm hit the mountain. It was such a terrible blast that the rocks were torn loose. But the Lord was not in the wind. The wind would have been a powerful way for God to talk to Elijah, but he wasn't in the wind. And it goes on to say, after the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. Earthquake is another powerful way that God could have spoken. And then after the earthquake, there was a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, there was the sound of a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. So I'm going to stop there. So other translations of the Bible don't say a whisper, they say a still, small voice. And God chose to speak to Elijah in this tumultuous time in a still, small voice. One of the things that a lot of people are experiencing through the coronavirus is time and quiet. The busyness of the world has kind of ceased a little bit, and we have some quiet. And this week, I and Rick were talking, and I recognized something. I was getting really distracted watching videos on YouTube and this and that, and letting kind of the noise of the world just get into my head and take my focus off of God. And I felt as I was getting into these videos and just getting distracted, and it wasn't anything bad, it was just entertaining and just passing the time. But I noticed this voice that was kind of trying to get my attention, and it was a very subtle voice, just like trying to get my focus away from that. And I feel like at this time God has really been calling me and my husband Rick to just be into prayer and reading our Bible a little more, and to focusing on God a little more. And when I was explaining this kind of phenomenon to him, I was explaining that that this little voice inside was something so small I could have just shut it out. In fact, I think for a couple times I did. I just shut it out because I didn't think about it that maybe God is trying to get my attention. I just had this thought, and like it's kind of deep inside that like maybe this is not the best way to spend my time. And sometimes that's how God speaks to us in just a little gentle, quiet way to get our attention. And it's kind of like the same way how God chose to die for us instead of to be a warrior king, and he chose to be a humble king. God is very humble sometimes, even when he deals with us as people, and even when he speaks to us, he's very humble. And even Elijah came at God kind of accusatory, like, I've been serving you, and you're letting this queen threaten my life. But God goes on to explain to him, you're not the only one serving me. There are 7,000 who have not bowed to other idols. And these are the things that I'm going to do to take care of you, Elijah, is what he goes on to say. If you want to read the chapter, it's chapter 19 of 1 Kings. Good story. But he goes on to tell Elijah, I am going to take care of you. And you're wrong. There are so many other people who are trying to do the right thing. And Elijah's like, he came at God like in a very strong way, but God gently responded to him. And I kind of went a little into detail this time, but I just wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to have you maybe think about this week spending a little more time in prayer and in your Bibles, and just like having your heart open to what maybe God is trying to tell you, and what he's saying to you. Maybe it is the same as me, to maybe quiet some of the other noise and spend time with him. Maybe it's to be kinder to our siblings or the people in our house that maybe are getting on our nerves right now because we've been with them so much. Maybe it's, I don't know, probably something like that though. And I just want to encourage you just to keep your heart open to God, and to keep your mind on the Bible in this time, because this is such a good time to get close to God and to spend time with God. And that's pretty much all I have to say for today. And I just want to say, as always, I love you, I miss you, and I hope everything's going well. And happy Sunday, and that's all. I hope you have a great day today.